As everyone moved into the family room and took their seats, the chatter grew louder. The table was spread with Gianni's creations, each dish tantalizing. Cara and Gionni sat together at the head of the long table, anchoring the gathering as hosts. From Cara's right, the sequence flows with Michelle and Liz side by side, Tanya and Nicole, followed by Carla and Brad. Carole and Tom sit just beyond, Rebecca tucked in quietly next, and Kelly rounding out that stretch. On Gianni's side, the line begins with Don beside Cris, Hillary and Susan, Craig and Maria, Christina and Bill, and Whitney closes the circle. Everyone settled into their spots, eyeing each other across the table. Gionni stood at the head of the table, a proud look on his face. "All right, let's dig in." As Cara and Gionni watch on, the table begins to fill. Guests were passing dishes, helping themselves to the feast before them. Brad, with a mouthful of turkey, glances at Gionni and adds, "You outdid yourself, man. This turkey is on another level." Liz, savoring the stuffing, chimes in, "And this stuffing, I swear, I can taste the love you used in it." Carla, her mouth full of mashed potatoes, nods approvingly. "You really nailed these mashed potatoes. They're perfection." The room is filled with praise, each guest appreciating the unique dishes that everyone contributed. As the meal progresses, Cara stands up to make a toast. "Everyone, can I have your attention for a moment?" The chatter gradually dies down and all eyes turn towards her. Cara raises her glass, her gaze flickering over the faces around the table. "I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone for coming tonight. It's so wonderful to have all of you here gathered around this table in celebration of gratitude, kindness, and connection. We're all here because we cherish each other and cherish this friendship. So let's make a toast to good company and good food." The guests, their faces lit with smiles, raise their glasses in synchrony. "To good company and good food," they echo in unison. Cara beams, her voice filled with pride. "And a special shout out to the kitchen magician himself, Gionni, who has outdone himself tonight with this spread." Gionni grins. "Just doing my part, ladies and gentlemen." The other guests chime in with nods of agreement and their murmurs of appreciation filling the air. Liz adds, "You're being modest. That turkey could be on the cover of Food and Wine magazine." As the dinner draws to a close, the chatter continues in an easy, comfortable manner. Liz, turning towards Susan, comments, "Your roasted vegetables are to die for." Susan grins, her voice filled with satisfaction. "Thanks, it's my go-to recipe." Some of the guests begin clearing the table and scraping their plates. Gionni started wrapping up leftovers and putting them into the fridge. Michelle and Liz step out after dinner for a cigarette on the patio. Michelle pulls out her pack of cigarettes and hands one to Liz. They take a seat at the table and smoke in silence. After a few minutes, Liz comments about the slight tension between Don and Rebecca over dinner. "You know, I noticed something while we were all eating," Liz says, taking a drag. "Oh yeah?" Michelle quips up. "The tension between Don and Rebecca is definitely interesting, to say the least. I mean, they haven't seen one another since Cara's birthday party. I'm sure things are awkward and hard to shake," Liz said curiously. Michelle smirks, taking a puff from her cigarette. "Interesting, huh? That's an understatement." Liz takes a drag, exhaling slowly. "You noticed it too?" Michelle nods, a hint of gossip in her voice. "Oh, it's hard not to. They've been avoiding each other like the plague since Cara's birthday party." Liz raises an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. "Do you think something happened between them?" Michelle raised an eyebrow. "I mean, this is a long shot, but part of me thinks that Don chose Marnie over Rebecca and is trying hard to keep it a secret." Liz takes a drag from her cigarette, considering Michelle's theory. That's a pretty bold speculation." Michelle shrugs, exhaling a plum of smoke into the cool night air. "Maybe, but you gotta admit, it's weird how awkward they are around each other now." Liz chuckles, shaking her head. "Yeah, there's definitely something off there, like unresolved, unfinished business." Michelle lets out a sigh, finishing off her cigarette. "I hate to sound cynical, but let's see how long this peace lasts." "You're right," Liz concedes, extinguishing her own cigarette. "It's only a matter of time before someone does something stupid." Michelle chuckles dryly. "It's like clockwork with this group." They share a knowing look, the unspoken expectation hanging in the air like smoke. Back inside, the table is clear and the guests are mingling about. Tanya and Nicole are talking to Rebecca on the couch when Dawn saunters over. Michelle and Liz come back into the house and help themselves to a drink at the bar when they notice Dawn heading over in Rebecca's direction. "Oh boy," Michelle murmurs beneath her breath, nudging Liz discreetly. "Looks like Dawn's making a beeline for Rebecca." Liz raised an eyebrow, also noticing the scene unfolding. "This should be interesting." Don, with a slightly nervous air about him, stands in front of Rebecca, forcing a casual smile. "Hey, can I talk to you for a moment?" Rebecca, caught off guard, gives him a hesitant nod. Dawn, sure. What's up? Dawn steals a glance at Michelle and Liz across the room, who are not so subtly pretending to be engrossed in their conversation at the bar. He turns back to Rebecca, clearing his throat awkwardly. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about something. Rebecca raises an eyebrow, her guard going up. What about? It's just, I met with Marnie last month. She told me what she thinks happened that night. You only asked me out to make her jealous. And Rebecca, whether it's true or not, that's a pretty shitty move. He paused, clearing his throat. Marnie and I are seeing one another, and if you don't like that, well, that sucks, he shrugged. Across the room, Michelle nearly choked on her drink when Dawn's words carried across the room. She whipped her head towards Liz, eyes wide. Michelle hissed under her breath. Are you fucking kidding me? Dawn and Marnie? What the actual fuck? Since when? Liz's jaw dropped, her glass froze in midair. Holy shit, he just dropped that on Rebecca like it's casual conversation? What the fuck is wrong with him? Michelle leaned in, voice sharp. Jesus Christ, what a fucking mess. Liz shook her head. He's throwing Rebecca under the bus to cover his ass. Fucking coward move. And poor Rebecca, she didn't sign up for this bullshit. Michelle slammed her glass down a little too hard, whispering fiercely. This is Friendsgiving, not a goddamn soap opera. Dawn just turned it into a fucking spectacle. Liz exhaled sharply, eyes still locked on the couch. Well, fuck. I guess you could say we're used to it at these events. Now we're about to watch this whole thing blow up. Cara, catching the sharp tones from the bar, drifted over with a hostess instinct, her brow furrowed. She set down her glass and leaned in toward Michelle and Liz, lowering her voice. All right, what's going on? You two look like you just saw a ghost. Michelle turned, eyes blazing, unable to hold it back. Cara, you're not gonna fucking believe this. Dawn just told Rebecca he's been seeing Marnie. Drops it right in her lap like it was nothing. Liz shook her head, her voice sharp with disbelief. Yeah, and he didn't stop there. He said Marnie's been talking shit about Rebecca. Like, nasty shit. And that Rebecca only asked him out to make Marnie jealous. He fucking said that. Out loud. At Friendsgiving. Cara's eyes widened, her hand flying to her mouth. Oh my god. Here? Tonight? Michelle leaned forward, whispering fiercely. Yeah, right in front of Tanya and Nicole. Rebecca's holding her ground, but it's fucking brutal. Dawn's making it 10 times worse. Rebecca lets out a sharp, frustrated scoff. Are you serious right now? You just took Marnie's word and ran with it? Dawn's nonchalant demeanor begins to falter. Well, she seemed pretty truthful. Rebecca's voice hardens. And you never thought to get my side of the story? You just automatically assumed she's telling the truth? Dawn shrugs defensively. I mean, she had details. It seemed legit. Rebecca shakes her head. So you just took her word over mine without even bothering to ask me about it? You just believed her because she had details? Dawn, a hint of guilt in his expression, struggles to defend himself. Look, I'm just saying, it all lined up. Rebecca puts her hands on her hips and looks into Dawn's eyes. Come on, Dawn, I know you're not an idiot. You've known Marnie for years. Surely you could tell she's lying, right? Dawn rubs a hand over his face. Yeah, I know she has a history of storing stuff up, but... Rebecca cuts him off, her voice rising slightly. But what? You still believed her? Even knowing how she is? Dawn let out a sigh, his composure cracking further. Look, it's not like I wanted to believe her, but the stuff she was telling me? Rebecca's expression hardens even more. What stuff? What was she saying that was so damn convincing? Dawn avoids eye contact at first. There's a tension in his jaw as he's bracing himself. Marnie said when the two of you were growing up, you were jealous, always watching, always trying to wedge yourself into her life. Even now, she still thinks you're messing with her. Like what happened with me wasn't about me at all, just another way to get under her skin. She's done trying to figure you out, and she's not letting you live in her head anymore. As Dawn's words sink in, Rebecca's expression turns from anger to outrage. Are you kidding me right now? That's the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard. She steps closer to Dawn, her voice growing louder and more frustrated. You can't honestly believe any of that crap. I've been nothing but supportive of Marnie, and she's the one who's always stirring up trouble. She's the one who's always causing drama, not me. Dawn, his patience wearing thin, glares at Rebecca. So she was just making all this up then? Just spinning lines out of nowhere for fun? Come on, Rebecca, you really expect me to believe that none of it was true? That you're some saint and she's the devil? Rebecca's voice trembles. I know how it was when we were kids. I clung to her. I pushed too hard. I wanted so badly to be a part of her world. And yeah, I made mistakes. I was insecure. I didn't know how to show it, But I've changed. I've worked to change. And whatever Marnie told you, I didn't ask you out to make her jealous. That wasn't some scheme. I didn't even know she still had feelings for you. Not really. Not like that. So no, I'm not pretending I was a saint, but I'm not the villain she's making me out to be either. And if you actually knew me, really knew me, you'd see that. Don shifts his weight, standing up straighter. You didn't know she had feelings for me. Come on, Rebecca. You knew and you still went for it at Cara's birthday party, no less. You think that doesn't look calculated? You say you've changed, but the second things don't go your way, you start pointing fingers. You act like you're the only one who's grown. Like Marnie's stuck in the past and you're some evolved version of yourself. But from where I'm standing, you're still playing the same games, just with better excuses. Marnie didn't twist anything. She told me what it felt like to grow up with you always hovering, always needing to be in the center. Don's voice is sharp, unwavering. I know what I want. It's been staring me in my face for the last 5 years, and I'm not going to let a sibling rivalry ruin that for me. I'm seeing Marnie now whether you like it or not. I don't care anymore. Rebecca's chest tightens as she processes his words. You can't be serious right now. Don's gaze is steady, unwavering. I'm dead serious, and I'm over your immaturity, Rebecca. You need to learn how to process these things as an adult. It's not fair you're acting like a jealous little brat. You don't get to weigh in on my choice to go out with Marnie. That decision's mine, not yours. I care about you. I really do. But Marnie understands me, understands my needs. She's a better fit for me. A mix of guilt and uneasiness crossed Don's face as he became conscious of the audience they had acquired. The other guests had been discreetly watching the conversation unfold, some feigning nonchalance, others unabashedly eavesdropping. Rebecca stands up. Fine, Don. Go ahead. Run off with Marnie. But when she does something bad and it all blows up in your face, don't you dare come crawling back to me for help. With a force of power, Rebecca turns around and pushes Don softly. As Rebecca storms off, Don's frustration boils to the surface. Oh, that's just great, he mutters, his voice tinged with anger. That's just perfect. Violence isn't the answer, Rebecca, he called out after her. Michelle, Liz, and Cara exchange glances, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. Cara just stares. Did she really just push him like that? Yes, she damn well did, Don growls, rubbing his chest where Rebecca had pushed him. She's a pain in the ass. Liz's eyebrows shoot up in surprise. Whoa, I never thought I'd see Rebecca lose it like that. She's usually so calm and collected. Michelle shakes her head, still trying to make sense of the situation. I can't believe she just pushed you. That's not like her at all. Well, apparently she has her limits, Don mutters, still fuming. And I just found out exactly what those limits are. Michelle shakes her head. I'll say her anger has been building for a while. Don huffed. She's fed up with the way Marnie's been talking about her behind her back. And she could also be mad about how I picked Marnie over her. Well, can you blame her? Liz chimes in. Rebecca has been nothing but supportive and kind, and Marnie has treated her like crap for years. I'd be pissed too. Cara nods in agreement. It's like Marnie has this weird grudge against her, and Rebecca's just trying to move on. Childhood trauma, disagreements, past arguments, a lot of things could happen to change their dynamic, Don observes, fiddling with his glass. Michelle raises an eyebrow. Disagreements are one thing, but Marnie's behavior goes beyond that. She constantly puts Rebecca down, talks behind her back, and acts like she's this perfect princess while painting Rebecca as the black sheep of the family. Liz nods, her lips pursed in disapproval. It's not even friendly banter. There's genuine malice in the way Marnie talks about Rebecca. Dessert is served, everyone, Gionni nodded, setting down the pies on the table. Rebecca and Don went their separate ways. She disappears down the hall toward the bathroom. Back at the table, dessert is being served. Don stabs his fork into a slice of pie, jaw clenched. Cara gave Don a sympathetic look as she joined him at the dessert table. Are you okay? She asked softly. Don let out a sigh, his gaze fixed on the slice of pie he was holding. Yeah, I will be. Rebecca could have been more supportive, you know? Cara nodded understandingly. I know it's difficult, but sometimes people need time to process things. Don let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, well, maybe we need to set some boundaries. I think I'm going to keep my distance until Rebecca and Marnie can have a civil conversation. Cara nodded, understanding Don's decision to distance himself. That's understandable. Maybe some space could give them all a chance to clear their heads. Don took a bite of his pie, the sweetness of small comfort amidst the turmoil. Yeah, I just wish this whole thing wasn't so messy. Michelle placed a reassuring hand on Don's shoulder. But remember, she cares about you. She just needs some time to sort through her feelings. Don nodded. I know. I just hate seeing her hurt like this. Michelle nodded sympathetically, understanding Don's intentions. I know you didn't mean to hurt her. You just wanted to be honest and upfront about your situation with Marnie. Excuse me, ladies. Don stands up from the table. He throws on his coat and heads out to the front door for some fresh air. Don steps onto the porch, the crisp night air biting at his cheeks. He exhales slowly, replaying Michelle's words in his mind. Rebecca does care, even if things are tangled. Rebecca leaves the bathroom and heads back downstairs, searching for Michelle or Cara. They're sitting at the dining room table enjoying some pumpkin pie. Rebecca takes a long sigh before she approaches them. Hey, girls, Rebecca says softly, folding her arms. Michelle and Cara perk up at the sound of Rebecca's voice. Hey, Cara replies back, her body looking a little tense. I know I shouldn't be apologizing to you. I owe it all to Don, she starts off. But I'm sorry for any drama tonight. Really wasn't my intention. We all know how Don operates by now. He just drops conversation bombs on people when they least expect it. I wasn't expecting to hear some bullshit Marnie said about me or to hear that the two of them are seeing each other. It'll take some time for me to process, but I know I'll be over it soon, she sighed heavily, leaning against the table. Michelle and Cara exchange a glance before Cara speaks up again. It's okay, Rebecca. It's really not your fault. Don should have known better, she says sympathetically. Michelle nodded her head in agreement. Thank you for understanding, Rebecca says, clearing her throat before she continued. I'll see myself out now, if that's okay. Thank you for a lovely night. Dinner was wonderful, she nodded firmly. Cara stood up to hug Rebecca, understanding her need to leave after what had happened. Thank you for coming, Rebecca. We'll see you again soon. Rebecca nodded and gave Michelle a small hug as well. She surveyed the party and waved goodbye to those who were standing nearby. She grabbed her coat off the hook and headed outside into the cold night air. With a deep breath, she headed down the stairs and completely ignored Don. Don sat hunched at the bottom, elbows on his knees, watching her pass without a word. The silence stretched, heavy and brittle. Don cleared his throat, his voice low but urgent. Rebecca, wait! Rebecca froze for half a second, then kept walking, her gaze fixed on her car. Don, I think it's better if I just go. Don stood quickly, the cold air biting his face. I know. Look, I didn't mean for things to come out the way they did earlier. I wasn't trying to hurt you. Rebecca stopped at the edge of the driveway, her back still to him. She let out a sharp breath, visible in the night air. You were honest. I can't fault you for that, but honesty doesn't make it hurt any less. Don stepped closer, careful not to crowd her. I get that. I hate seeing you walk away like this, thinking I don't care. Because I do. More than you probably believe right now. Rebecca turned slightly, her eyes catching his in the dim porch light. You care, but you chose Marnie. You believed her over me. That's the part I can't untangle. You can't have both. Me in your corner, her in your life. It doesn't work like that. Don swallowed hard, his voice cracking with the weight of her words. I wasn't asking you to accept it overnight. I just hoped maybe someday you'd see that I wasn't trying to replace you, that I wanted you both in my life, in different ways. Rebecca shook her head, her expression softening but still guarded. That's not fair to me. I can't be the one who bends until I break just so you don't feel torn. Don's shoulders sagged, his breath clouding in the cold. You're right. It's not fair. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For the way I said it, for the timing, for all of it. Rebecca studied him for a long moment, her jaw tight. Finally, she gave a small nod. I hear you, but I still need space. Tonight isn't the night to fix this. Don nodded slowly, accepting the boundary even as it stung. Okay, I'll give you that space. Just don't shut the door completely, please. Rebecca adjusted her coat, her voice quieter now. I'll think about it. With that, she turned and opened the driver's door, her figure fading into the shadows. Don stood on the porch, watching her go, the ache in his chest tempered only by the faint hope that her words, I'll think about it, meant the door wasn't locked forever. Don stepped back inside, the warmth of the house wrapping around him after the chill of the porch. The dining room had shifted into its end-of-night rhythm. Michelle and Cara still seated at the table, Liz now beside them, their conversation quieter, more reflective. Around the room, guests were gathering coats and handbags, laughter softening into goodbyes. Carla and Carole shared a quick hug before heading out with Brad and Tom, their voices carrying down the hallway. Susan and Hillary followed suit, offering warm thanks as they slipped out into the night. Tanya and Nicole lingered near the door, exchanging final words before pulling on their scarves. Cris paused in the living room to thank Cara and Gionni for the evening, then slid open the glass doors and disappeared towards the pool house, her footsteps echoing faintly across the deck. Carla smiles warmly. Cara, thank you for hosting. The food was wonderful and the company even better. Carole nodded in agreement. Yes, really. You always make these nights feel so welcoming. Brad grins. And that pie! Don wasn't the only one sneaking extra slices. Tom chuckles as he adjusts his coat. We'll be talking about that dinner for a while. Thanks again. Cara rose slightly from her chair, her smile genuine despite the long night. I'm so glad you all came. It wouldn't have been the same without you. Susan hugs Cara quickly. You outdid yourself, as always. Thank you for bringing us together. Hillary waves. Yes, thank you. Nights like this remind me why we keep coming back. Tanya pulls on her gloves. Cara, everything was perfect. I'm so glad we could be here. Nicole echoes softly. Yes, thank you. It was such a lovely evening. Cara clasped her hands together, her voice warm and steady. Safe travels, everyone. I'm so grateful for each of you. Let's do this again soon. Michelle, Liz, Don, great seeing you outside the school for once. Thanks for tonight, Carla nodded, walking closer to the foyer. Michelle gives a warm smile, Liz offers a quick nod, and Don raises his glass slightly in acknowledgement. Susan buttons up her coat as she follows Hillary. Good night, all. Michelle responds softly. Good night, see you soon, while Liz adds, safe drive home. Tanya follows the group down the hallway. Always nice to spend time outside work. Don smiles faintly. Good night, everyone. While Michelle and Liz echoed their thanks in unison. The evening had clearly wound down. Coats were gathered from hooks, handbags slung over shoulders, and the hum of conversation softened into the rhythm of farewells. Kelly and Whitney moved toward the door together, exchanging quick waves as they passed through the dining room. Craig and Maria followed close behind, pausing to thank the host before stepping into the cold night. At the table, Liz, Michelle, and Don offered polite nods and smiles as their colleagues made their way out, while Cara and Gionni stood near the entryway, receiving each goodbye with warmth. Kelly smiles. Cara, Gionni, thank you both. Dinner was wonderful. Really appreciate the invite. Cara grinned. I'm so glad you came. Safe drive home, both of you. Craig adjusted his scarf. Thanks again, Cara. Great evening as always. Maria smiles warmly. Yes, thank you. Everything was delicious, and the company even better. Christina grinned, her voice almost rising to a shout. Have a good one! Cara, Gionni, you guys outdid yourselves tonight. Bill nodded slowly. Thank you both. Lovely evening. Cara laughed at Christina's delivery. Christina, you always know how to make an exit. Thank you for coming. Gionni smiled warmly. Glad you both could be here. Safe trip home. Michelle smiled. Good night, you two. Always fun seeing you. Don raised his glass slightly. Take care. See you soon. After most of the guests leave, Cara returns back to the table with her friends. Gianni's in the kitchen, filling the dishwasher, the clatter of dishes faintly breaking the quiet. The four of them sit together, the room suddenly smaller, the silence a bit awkward after what happened between Don and Rebecca. Liz leans forward, her tone gentle but direct, breaking the pause. So, Don, how are you feeling? How do you think you're going to move on from all of this? Don exhales, rubbing the back of his neck. Honestly, I don't know yet. Tonight was rough. Rebecca just needs to learn how to move on her own and accept that Marnie and I are seeing one another. I hate that it ended like that, but maybe space is the only thing that'll help. Michelle nods, her voice calm and reassuring. You did what you could. You were honest, and that matters. Rebecca just needs time to process. Cara folds her hands on the table, watching Don carefully. And you need to give yourself some grace too. You can't carry all of it alone. Let her take her space, but don't let it eat you up. Don gives a faint smile, grateful for their support. I hear you. It's just hard not to replay it in my head, wondering if I could have said it differently. Liz shakes her head, firm but kind. You can't rewrite the night, Don. What's done is done. What matters is how you handle tomorrow. Michelle reaches across the table, giving his hand a quick squeeze. And you're not alone in this. We're here, okay? Whatever happens with Rebecca, you've got us. Don nods, his shoulders easing a little. Thanks. That means more than I can say. Cara smiles, breaking the heaviness with a lighter tone. Then let's end the night on something good. No more heavy talk, just us finishing the last of this pie. The group chuckles softly, the tension loosening as they settle into the comfort of each other's company. The clinking of forks and Gianni's steady rhythm in the kitchen filling the quiet with warmth. Don, Liz, and Michelle gathered their coats and rose together, deciding to leave at once. The three of them moved toward the front door, exchanging quiet words as they walked. Cara and Gionni stepped forward from the dining room, standing by the door to see them out, their hostess's warmth still steady even after a long evening. Michelle smiled softly. Cara, Gionni, thank you both. It was a lovely night, really. Liz nodded in agreement. Yes, thank you. Dinner was wonderful, and it was good to catch up with everyone. Don smiles politely. Appreciate the invite. Always nice to spend time outside of work. Cara grins warmly. I'm so glad you all came. Safe travels home. Gionni smirked. Thanks for being here. We'll have to do this again soon. With that, they stepped into the cool night, their voices fading as the door closed gently behind them. Cara and Gionni lingered for a moment in the quiet entryway, the house finally settling into stillness after the long evening of arrivals, departures, and everything in between.